Looking for these better days.
It is Thursday, July 16th. I'm Scott Seidenberg. Here's what you need to know to make today a better day. The World Cup final is set as Argentina comes from behind once again to stun England 2-1. Plus, the second half of the Major League Baseball season will get underway here tonight. Yes, I know we've already played more than half of the season mathematically, but please, I don't need you to correct me on that. Jake Hassan joins me on this episode of Better Day presented by FanDuel. And Jake, let's start with the World Cup semifinal yesterday. England up 1-0 over Argentina. And then they did what all these teams do that pisses me off so much. They play not to lose instead of playing to win. And you cannot just park the bus and play defense against a team as good as Argentina and a player as good as Leo Messi. And it seemed like for the final 15, 20 minutes of that match, it was Argentina with their pedal to the floor and England trying to survive, and they could not, as Argentina scores a goal in the 85th minute to tie it and a goal in the 92nd minute to win it.
Yeah, like the playing not to lose to me is like coward's ball. Like whether it's basketball, whether it's football, whether it's soccer, like playing not to lose is coward's ball because you know on the other side, like you said, they're pedal to the metal. They got nothing to lose. They're throwing the kitchen sink at you. And eventually at this late stage in the game, you're down to the final four teams. These teams are too talented to just say, oh, okay, well, if you're trying not to lose, we'll respect that. Or we're a round of 32 team that you can just kind of keep at arm's length. No, this is one of the final four teams with the all-time greatest soccer player on the other side. Like, what do you think is going to happen here? Like, you have to at least try and keep the heat on. And I just think that it was coward's ball by England. And honestly, I'll say it, they got what they deserved.
Yeah, and it's history. I mean, we're witnessing history here with Messi and Argentina. I even tweeted out that, you know, I there's a lot to complain about with me losing my futures bet on England to win the World Cup. But we're witnessing history, and it's been an incredible tournament. And seeing Argentina, you know, come from behind the way they did against Egypt, and then here against England, you know, holding on against Cape Verde, like just what an amazing tournament. And I think Messi has locked up the golden ball as the player of the tournament, even if Argentina loses in the championship match. Like, I don't think that he needs to do anything in that final to be awarded the player of the tournament. Now, I'm not talking about the golden boot as the most goals. I'm just talking about the golden ball as the player of the tournament. I think Messi's already locked it up.
Yeah, and it also feels like that would be like a seminal moment, like especially if Argentina wins. But it also feels like it like this is kind of the end of the line ish. We're unsure of his future. Like, all right, we know like this establishes what was lightly debated, I think, at this point, but now solidifies him and his place in history. So that makes a ton of sense to me too.
Yeah, and that market's actually off the board right now. Yeah. The only market you could bet on is the golden boot winner, which Messi is minus 250. Kylian Mbappe is plus 200. Now, while both players are even with 8 goals for the tournament, Messi's going to play in the championship match. Mm-hmm. Do we know that Mbappe is going to play in the third place match? I don't know. On Saturday, France takes on England. France is a minus 160 favorite up on FanDuel. England plus 130. I don't know if we see Mbappe in the consolation game.
Yeah, you would think not, but I mean that's just trying to read tea leaves, and then you're getting into too many semantics. And you know, it's also okay, it's a third place game, it means something, but even if Mbappe plays the whole game, and even if, again, that goes back to a point too. Even if he plays, are you sure he's playing the whole thing? Are you sure it's not just okay, good effort, cool, make an appearance, save face, get him out? But it's also like, I mean, are you getting full effort? Is it more just he's out there to show face and he's on the field and it's just try not to get hurt, get in, get out, and go home?
Yeah, and the tiebreaker is assists as well, and I think like Mbappe's got 3 and that's it. And I think Messi, he either had to going into yesterday or now he has to after yesterday. So, you know, as long as he puts up a point here or something in the final, he'll win. Speaking of the final, any leans, where are you going to go with this? Spain minus 154, Argentina plus 134 up on FanDuel.
I don't want to be like reactionary and I don't want it to be revisionist. But how can you not lean Argentina at
Yeah.
that big of a dog? And is that big after what we've seen this entire tournament, doubted, come from behind, holding teams off, and all these different methods of victory. And now you're getting them as a pretty significant dog again. I mean, I don't know. I could also hear the conspiracy theory that this is a passing of the torch from Messi to Yamal, and maybe that's that's like a conspiracy. FIFA's got their thumb on the scales, which that's never happened before. But I think for me, Scott, it's just going to be Argentina because they're the big dog. It feels like it should be closer than that. It feels like a price discrepancy. So just follow the logic there.
Yeah, we've been waiting. It's like we've been waiting for the other shoe to drop with this squad. We talk about the flaws and, oh, they almost did. They almost lost this. They almost lost this. They almost lost this. Well, they still haven't lost. Okay. Right. So, yeah, I think it has to be Argentina at plus money. I don't hate betting on the draw, which is something that I did with Spain and France, and it didn't come through. So I might look at the three-way money line at plus 190 on the draw, or do like the double result, like do like Argentina with the draw. Something like that. But we have plenty of days to break that down. Tonight is the resumption of the Major League Baseball regular season. Just one game tonight. It is in Philadelphia, where the All-Star game was on Tuesday. It is the Mets versus the Phillies tonight, with Aaron Nola on the bump for the Phillies and Christian Scott going for the New York Mets. Before we get into some of the games, the game here tonight, and also just our bets moving forward, Jake, earlier this week, I did an audit of the Major League Baseball season. And I wanted to look at how every team had done, who's the best money line teams, who's the best run line teams, things like that. And some numbers really jumped out to me. Do you realize the most profitable team in Major League Baseball to bet on this year is your Chicago White Sox?
Yeah, that was going to be my guess.
You have made 11.6% ROI for just above the Tampa Bay Rays with 9% ROI. But at 50 and 45, if you've bet $100 on the White Sox every single game this year, you are up $1,179. That's slightly ahead of the Tampa Bay Rays, where you are up $1,051. The most profitable team in baseball, the Chicago White Sox.
I mean, it makes sense. You think about it, that even especially early season, they were dogs in just about every game. The books are slapping a number out there like, okay, hot streak, hot streak, hot streak. It's going to come back eventually. And then here we are, and they're good. And even, Scott, on the games that they're favored, you're seeing them only like minus 115, minus 2. Like, you're not seeing when Davis Martin's on the bump, you're not seeing a minus 170 like you would with like the Tigers when Scooble's out there. Like, books are still lining the White Sox even in games that they're favored as short favorites. It makes sense. That, I'm honest, hand to God, like, if you would let me guess, I was gonna say my guess was gonna be the White Sox. Like, if you had said guess the team, I would have said the White Sox, because it makes sense. They've been huge dogs in a lot of these games too, so, and when they are underdogs especially, so it makes sense. And I'm still high on the White Sox going into the quote second half.
Yeah, they are right now up on FanDuel plus 180 to win the American League Central. The Guardians are minus 105. Now, you look at the standings, and I mentioned the White Sox are 50 and 45, but they're tied with the Guardians, who are 51 and 46. And I guess it comes down to, like, which team do you think might be aggressive at the trade deadline? Which team do you think is better equipped to outlast the opposition? Like, in this division, I honestly don't count anybody out. I don't count the Twins out, who are 3 games back. I don't count the Tigers out, who are 6.5 games back. I mean, the Royals, yeah, they're done. But are the White Sox the team to bet in this division right now?
I think it is. I think it's the White Sox. I think they're only going to get better, too. I think that they're a team that's clearly in the buyer category, because now as we talk about the second half, you have to look at which teams are buying, which teams are selling, which teams are going to get better, which teams are going to get worse. I think the White Sox are firmly in that buy category. Now, I don't think that they're going to go out there and take the giant swing for one of the stars on the market.
Yeah.
But because they're still, their window is open, but it's opening. Like, this is the year where the White Sox window, I think, starts to open. And next year is where you go pedal to the metal. But I think that they can add on the margins. Like, they can add an outfielder, they can add a reliever, and still, even those additions on the margins can help. Even if they bring in a Jorge Soler to replace Andrew Benintendi in the DH spot or something like that, that's still going to help that team. So I think it's the White Sox for me, especially because the Guardians, there always feels like they're in that seller-ish category. And we still don't know the future of Jose Ramirez. Their best player is still on the injured list. So
Yeah.
I think for me, it's the White Sox.
That's a great point. The White Sox are also the second best run line team in Major League Baseball. And you mentioned because they're winning games as dogs. So when they're plus a run and a half, they're winning the games outright, but they're 56-39 on the run line this year. That's 58.9%. Your best run line team in baseball is the Tampa Bay Rays at 55-38. That's 59.1%. But this is the crazy stat that I talked about earlier in the week, Jake. Tampa Bay has played 66 games as a favorite this year.
Wow.
They have won 43 of those games. So they're 43-23 as a favorite. On the run line in those games, they are 40-26. That means of their 43 wins as a favorite this year, 40 of them covered minus 1.5. You are up $2,614 this year betting on the Tampa Bay Rays minus a 1.5. Because think about how many times they're a short favorite in the game, and minus 1.5, you get that plus money price. I mean, looking at those numbers, we have to do this for the rest of the season, right? Like, we can never turn away betting on the Rays at minus 1.5 in these games.
Yeah, I mean, and this is going to lead into a bigger conversation in a couple minutes. But I mean, the first thing I'm going to say about the Rays is promise me that Junior Caminero is okay. And the X-rays came back negative. He says he's going to play on Friday, and he's going to play once games fully kick off again. So looks like the Rays avoided disaster there. But I still want to see what it's going to look like. But I think you're right, Scott. This is a good team. Like, this is, say it with me year after year, the Rays are just going to win 90 games. They're going to roll out of bed and win 90, 95 games as usual. And that's another team that's going to buy. The Rays have put out a statement. It's out there in the rumor mill. The Rays are looking at Tariq Skubal. The Rays are going to take a big swing. What's that going to look like if they get him? Then you're looking at Skubal, McClanahan, Rasmussen. Okay, sign me up for that. So I think the Rays are going to continue to be a monster here. I really like this team. I think they're well positioned to win the AL pennant.
Okay, so what bet would you rather have right now? I'm going to give you your options, okay? You have Rays minus 120 to win the AL East. I don't even think that's your option, okay? Because why tie up your money for a minus 120?
Yeah.
So Rays to win the American League is plus 550. You have manager of the year, Kevin Cash, plus 240. These odds are all on FanDuel, by the way. And Junior Caminero to win the MVP at plus 450. Which of those three bets would you rather have? Win the American League plus 550, Caminero MVP plus 450, Kevin Cash manager of the year plus 240.
So I'll reverse engineer this guy and go with the ones I'm going to cross off first. I'm crossing off Cash. He's a 2-time winner with
because you're giving it to Venable.
I'm giving it to Will Venable because especially if the White Sox win that division. If they win the division, it's just his. He just wins. I kind of think that's the case if they make the playoffs even, just because of what expectations were. And if it's going to be Venable versus Cash, voters are going to look at Cash, 2-time winner, and say, okay, you had your chance. You had your moment. Venable's the new guy on the block. He's the hot name. So I think Venable wins. I think he has a very clear path to that. I would love to say Caminero MVP because with Yordan Alvarez being a DH and when he is in the field, it's a disaster. I really struggle with that. But with Kurtz going down, with Bobby Witt Jr.'s, all of his value coming on defense in the bases, never Ben Rice. And now it's just kind of Caminero and Alvarez, but then I'm worried about now Caminero's hand injury. That scares me a little bit. So I go with the pennant. I would bet the pennant price because the American League is so wide open. And I just said it. The Rays are telling you they're going to buy. The Rays are telling you that even if they don't end up with Skubal, they're going to go get one of these bigger arms, one of these top. Like, would anyone be surprised if the Rays end up with Joe Ryan, especially given the team's history with trading with each other? We've seen that before. So I think the Rays are going to do something flashy at the deadline here. I think they're a team that has a nice core both in the lineup and on the mound. And I think that they have the runway to the pennant, and a lot of that is because the rest of the American League stinks. But I think there's way too many red flags with Cash and Caminero in the awards market, so I would go the pennant.
Rays plus 1,800 to win the World Series. The Dodgers are overwhelming favorite, plus 165. Yankees second favorite at plus 550. I still think the Yankees are going to be there at the end of the year. One thing that I looked at was the Pythagorean win-loss report, which is, you look at your team's run production and see what their record should be. The Yankees are a -4, which means like they have lost 4 games that they should not have lost. Like they should have 4 more wins that they have right now. And that's even considering all the injuries that they've dealt with, which those players are going to come back. Like Aaron Judge, hopefully at some point comes back. Maybe it's not going to be as soon as they hoped it would, but at some point Judge comes back. At some point Stanton comes back. At some point Max Fried comes back. And now you're hearing rumors that the Yankees are linked to Mason Miller and some other key players. Like if the Yankees are aggressive at the trade deadline, they're going to be right back in this thing. And we're going to realize at the end of the year, when it comes time for the postseason and it's, Rays Yankees in the Bronx, or it's White Sox Yankees in the Bronx, and it's a quick series, that we're like, oh yeah, the Yankees are still the Yankees.
Yeah. I just struggle with the Yankees rumor mill just because we do this every year where Yankees fans, especially Yankees Twitter, is like, we're getting Miller, we're getting Skubal, we're getting Skeens. And it's like, okay, here's 4th outfielder that doesn't play. And Cashman's like, well, we saw a lot of value. Because here's Scott.
Hey, Harrison Bader was fun for a time being.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point. Like, okay, great. And what did that do for you in October? I just think that Cashman is the type of guy, I can hear it in my head now, Scott, of the deadline's going to pass. They're going to add like a Harrison Bader, or they're going to add like somebody on the margins. Like they're going to add like a Jacob Young or something. And then Brian Cashman's going to sit up there and be like, well, with all of our guys getting healthy, that's as good as getting a star at the deadline. That's like getting Aaron Judge off the injured list is like acquiring a star. And then they're going to lose to the Rays in the division series, and all the Yankees fans are going to lose their minds. And I'm going to laugh because then at the end of the series press conference, that same clown trio of Boone and Cashman and Steinbrenner are going to get up there and say, well, without injuries, we go to the World Series. Okay, man, sure. So I can't buy into the Yankees. Even with if and when they get healthy, what is this going to look like? I think that the Yankees are a very flawed team. I think they're pinning way too much hope on guys coming back from injury, and to me, that's a giant red flag.
Who's the biggest challenge to the Dodgers in the National League? And like, listen, I am somebody that for months now, even when like they were still a pathetic team and they just fired Rob Thompson, I've been telling everybody to buy in on the Phillies. And my whole argument is not because they're better than their, production, which they are. Like we know that they're better than their production. But my whole point has been that they are going to be aggressive at the trade deadline because Dave Dombrowski has to realize that this is an aging roster with all of their key players well into their 30s, and their window to win the World Series is closing now. And so I do think that the Phillies are going to be aggressive at the trade deadline. Now, I don't know who that player is going to be. And let's just be honest, even if they are aggressive at the trade deadline, that still doesn't mean that the Marlins can't, get past them. It doesn't mean that the Braves can't hold them off. It doesn't mean that the Brewers aren't, going to, exercise their postseason demons and actually make this the year that they finally make a deep postseason run. And it also doesn't mean that the Dodgers aren't just going to be the Dodgers and just roll over everybody. So as much as I say, bet the Phillies, bet the Phillies, bet the Phillies, I can understand why people tell me, no, thanks.
Yeah, I'm in that camp. I'm in the camp of it's just the Dodgers. This team is just a machine. They chew you up, spit you out. But if you want to play the game of who would be the contender, I'm right there with you on the Phillies. They have the 2 studs at the top of the rotation with Sanchez and now a pissed off Zach Wheeler because he wasn't an all-star. And he's like, so that's great. Chip on his shoulder. He's going to be even more motivated. So I like that with the top 2. You have the 1-2 punch. The lineup's been good. And like you said, Dombrowski's going to make a swing. I don't know what that looks like. Maybe it's a Byron Buxton. We mentioned the Twins. Maybe it's a Joe Ryan. Maybe it's both. Maybe it's a Rafael Devers. Maybe it's something like that. I don't know. but Dombrowski's going to do something. So for me, if we're playing the game of, okay, you want to play name the finalists for the NL pennant, I think it's the Dodgers and the Phillies.
Yeah. And speaking of Zach Wheeler, I already went ahead and bet him to win the Cy Young at 22-1.
Okay.
I know I missed the best of the number, and I had people tweeting me over the weekend because I was on VSiN talking about how Wheeler was the bet, and everyone's showing me their tickets at 50-1, 100-1. And I'm like, I get it. I missed the boat, but you're right. This guy is pissed off. And the argument that I made was that he's so consistent right now. Right. Whereas Christopher Sanchez has up and down moments. Like, we know how bad he is on the road. Like, he has up and down moments. And for Mizorowski to be this overwhelming of a favorite when the kid misses a start prior to the All-Star break, he's going to skip a start after the All-Star break. And who knows if the Brewers decide to monitor his innings and shut him down to get him ready for the postseason. No one should be a minus 500 favorite at the All-Star break. It just makes no sense unless you're Shohei Ohtani and everyone knows you're just the MVP. Right.
Agree with that.
But I think Wheeler is a great bet right now, and the current odds here up on FanDuel for the National League Cy Young, Wheeler's down to 16-1 behind Miz and Sanchez.
Yeah, and Scott, not to play old tickets, but I'm one of the people with the Wheeler 50s because I was thinking about this.
I love it.
I was thinking about this with Mizorowski of, okay, he's an overwhelming favorite. He's the rightful favorite. He should be. But what's the runway? What's the game of how do we get there? And like you said, misses a start before, is going to miss a start after. We'll see what this looks like. Does that mess with his routine? Because we know pitchers are creatures of habit. Once you alter their routine, they kind of freak out a little bit. They're like animals. So I think maybe this could be a little wonky for Mizorowski coming out of the break. And this is also part of my thinking was this might be a Zach Wheeler legacy award too. If it's going to be neck and neck and it's really close, voters might say, okay, Mizorowski's going to be here for the next 10, 15 years. He's going to be the favorite next year. It's going to be him and Skeens. Now, Wheeler's on the back end of his career. He's been a bridesmaid how many times? Could he potentially, voters, get some pity votes? Let's just call them what they are. Could be, okay, this guy's, look, he's got the gray beard. He started the year injured. Now he's saying, oh, I'm pissed off for not being an all-star. It could be a legacy award for Wheeler if he puts up these numbers and keeps it up. So I agree, even at 16-1. Scott, this was a guy last year who was the second favorite at what, 2-1? 3-1. Like, we're used to this guy being a minus money favorite, a plus 150, a 2-1, and you're getting 16-1. So for people listening saying, oh, well, I got the worst of the number, I don't want to bet a bad number. This is going to keep going down. When it's 8, 7, 5-1, you're going to be grateful for that 16. So, and even if people, your friends, your buddies, people elsewhere, me are saying, oh, well, I got 50, or Scott, you got 22. We all win together, and you still got the number when it was inflated and wasn't right. So at the end of the day, a win's a win, right?
It's amazing. Wheeler finished second to Sale 2 years ago.
Yep.
Sanchez, and that was my 50+1 ticket last year.
Yep,
and
same.
he finished second to Skeens. So it's amazing. You have the two guys that finished second the last 2 years, and here they are, second and third favorites behind Mizorowski in the National League this year. All right, let's wrap up this pod by giving a futures bet in every market here. So let's try and look for things, Jake. And I know you and Colby did this on your Off the Board podcast stream, but let's kind of look for things that are, I want to preface this by saying, that are worth your holding your money for a couple of months, right? Like, no one's going to hold their money for a plus 200. Like, let's look for let's look for things that we have the rest of July, August, September, and if we want to do, pennant and stuff, we can go into October. But to hold your money for the next 3 months, what is going to be the best return? Let's start with you can tell me you want to start with an award, or you want to start with a division or a league. I know we've already mentioned the Rays, but what do you think? Give me one bet right now, and then we'll move on from there.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to go back to the pennant, and it's the Texas Rangers. There's a 13-1 out there. I still think this team is way talented. I always look at teams that can make a postseason run are teams with a 1-2 punch in the rotation. DeGrom, Eovaldi, that's a 1-2 punch. You've seen Eovaldi start to pitch better. He's looked a lot better. The strikeouts have been there. And then if Mackenzie Gore ever gets his head on straight, that's a good number 3 to have. But even without him, Cody Bradford just went out on rehab assignment. So he's a guy who we've forgotten about because we didn't see him last year, but he was pivotal to that Rangers postseason run a few years ago. And he's a guy, to me, as somebody that just watches these games and watches and evaluates the players, Bradford's a guy who could be a number 2 on another team. He's got number 2 upside. So to me, it's the Rangers because of the pitching staff. And then if you could ever get Corey Seager, Josh Young, and Wyatt Langford healthy at the same time, this is a lineup that could stick with the best of them. And the Rangers have the devil magic. They've done it before. They did it in 2023. They're a team that, to me, could make a run because they have the core both on the mound and in the lineup. And I love their manager. I love Skip Schumacher. He's a guy that can push all the right buttons. He's won manager of the year before. I really like what, at least on paper, the Rangers should be working with come October because they're already leading the AL West as we talk right now.
Yeah. My next bet is going to be Munetaka Murakami at plus 700 to win the Rookie of the Year. I know he's missed some time, but he's back now. Kevin McGonigal of the Tigers is minus 250 right now up on FanDuel. And like I said, with Jacob Mizrowski, no one deserves to be that price here with this long of a season left to go. Tigers stink. Tigers aren't going anywhere. The White Sox might win this division. We always reward winners. And you know what voters love, Jake? Home runs. Home runs are sexy. And Munetaka went to the IL after 60 games and 20 home runs, right? If he played 90 games, he would still be amongst the league leaders with, Schwarber and Alvarez and Rice and whatnot. He stays healthy for the second half of the season. White Sox go on to win the division. Murakami at plus 700 is one of my best futures bets here. American League Rookie of the Year.
That was one I was going to say. I was between the Rangers and Murakami. I'm with you. A 40 home run potential on a division winner. I think that's definitely going to get some votes. It's like you said, he's back. He was good enough to be in the home run derby. Now his performance wasn't awesome, but still he was well enough to go into that. So I think that's where the hashtag value is too in the American League Rookie of the Year.
You give me one more, then I'll give one more before we head out.
Yeah, mine's it's not an award and it's not like it's a little niche, but I'm going to go to home run leader. Hunter Goodman's back out to 25-1 for home run leader. He's only 5 behind Kyle Schwarber. And even if Goodman does get traded, he's been better on the road than at Coors somehow. He's got more home runs. He's got 18 home runs on the road as compared to 9 at Coors. Even if he does stay a Rocky, I think the home runs are going to come at Coors Field just because of the nature of Coors Field. So for a guy who's only 5 behind, and Schwarber in the home run market is minus 130, it's July. And also now Goodman gets the boost of having not been in the home run derby. He was the guy he wasn't even invited. He was able to sit home, rest for a week. So at 25-1, I think that's a way wrong price on Hunter Goodman.
I like it. That's a fun bet. I'll give you one final one here, and it's going to be the Chicago Cubs to win the NL Central at plus 500. Actually, it's plus 490 now up on FanDuel. They're 5 games back of the Brewers, but the Cubs will be aggressive here at the deadline. And it's a big if the Cubs are the winners in the Tarek Skubal sweepstakes, tell me that doesn't make the Chicago Cubs the favorite here in the division, even though they're chasing 5 games. 5 games is nothing to make up. You make that up in a week, right? You make up 3 in one series against that team, right? You sweep them on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and all of a sudden you're 2 games back. Like 5 games is nothing here in July. I think at close to 5-1 for the Chicago Cubs, who could very well get Tarek Skubal. And if it's not Tarek Skubal, they can get somebody else to be at the top of that rotation with the lineup as good as they have. And with, PCA playing as well as he's played, Cubs close to 5-1 to win the NL Central, my next futures bet.
Yeah, and you got those teams playing each other 7 times in the final month of the season.
What I'm saying.
So that could come right down to the end of the wire there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. One weekend and you catch up 3 games. Like it happens, like it's that crazy. Yeah. Jake, great stuff, man. The second half of the season, again, we know not mathematically, but the post All-Star break portion of the season gets underway tonight. The Phillies up on FanDuel minus 124 favorites with Aaron Nola on the bump against Christian Scott and the New York Mets. Oh, by the way, the New York Mets, the least profitable team in Major League Baseball. Yes, no team has lost you more money betting on them than the New York Mets. And if you want to bet on them tonight, you're probably going to lose more money. Jake, tell everybody where they can follow you across social media and catch everything you've been working on.
Yeah, at the Jake Hassan on Twitter, Hasan, Hassan_Jake on Instagram is where you can find me.
Yep, and check out the Substack as well. Don't forget, Off the Board streams on Wednesdays and Fridays on the Better Day YouTube and Better Day Twitter account. You can also download and listen to the episode right here on this Better Day podcast feed. For Jake Hassan, I'm Scott Seidenberg. Here's hoping you make today and every day a better day.